All right, welcome back to Behind the Brakes. We are very excited. We've got Ziggy from Ziggy No. He's up on YouTube, and check out the show notes. This guy's all over the place, but man, big thinking, big ideas for the hobby, and he's kind of a disruptor, RJ.
Yeah, left field, right field, center field. It doesn't matter where. His ideas are like coming from everywhere, and that was really cool to be part of. And at the end of the day, anyone that makes you think and think different about something that you love, especially a hobby like breaking cards, is good in my book. So let's get into it.
All right, we are back, and we've got Ziggy from Ziggy No on YouTube. He's on every other platform. This man is an advocate. He's a big thinker, an advocate for breakers. He's doing a lot of incredible stuff in the hobby, and he's been very important to us. He's been watching our show, giving us some great feedback. So we've got him on because we got a lot to talk about. Welcome in, Ziggy.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited to be here. Big fan. As you said, I've been watching your show only for probably about a month or two. But I did go back and start consuming a bunch of your old stuff, and I just love the approach. I love the way you guys are very positive, and you really show stuff that I don't think people understand. Like today, I was listening to your conversation with the guy from Black Gold, and just getting his insights on payment, how he pays his breakers, I thought was very interesting, right? And I encourage everybody to watch stuff like that. If you're another breaker, if any breaker base out there a breaker, you should be watching your channel, because you're just giving away so many damn nuggets of information. And then I think if you're not a breaker and just interested in the hobby, you should be watching, because you get a great insight in this. And one thing I've been a big advocate is that behind every breaker, there's really a great story of a business, a care, a passion. Like I've never met a breaker yet who's like, I am a scammer. Here's my whole scam. I'm going to scam people. Here's, you know what I'm saying? Now you see clips of that. You saw the whatnot clip of the guy talking about resetting the channel or whatever. And there's bad shit out there.
Yeah.
In my defense of that, and I'll keep reminding people in the hobby, we are the only ones that have the camera on when we're talking about the hobby. I'm talking about breaking. And that's why you have that negative stuff. If you had cameras on every local card store, I don't want to talk about it. I'll just say that. Just remember, we have the cameras on. We're accountable for that.
100%. And I agree with you. Everybody we've talked to, everybody's on the show, same thing. They want to make sure they're doing things right by the people that are taking the time, spending the money with them. So appreciate you pointing that out. Also, it's important to say we did not pay him to say all those nice things about us. But, we got the chance to meet you at the National, have a conversation with you. And man, you've got some big ideas, some massive, massive thinking on the hobby and what we can do to continue to move it forward in a positive way. But before we get to that, man, obviously we've got to start with where you started. Where did your collecting journey begin? Was it sports, other? Just dive right into it, man.
So I'll give you kind of the short life story. As a kid, 2000, I'm kidding. It was 1986. 1986, I was dropped off at Boys and Girls Club. My mom had just moved to Florida, single mother, and my brother and I collected baseball cards. And for one summer, that was very passionate to us. 86 was our summer. We had the 86 topped. We also played with the 87s when it came out, but that was a very important year. I bring that up because my brother and I did collect for probably 2 or 3 years off and on, and we collected other cards, but that one summer was it. And it set it for the rest of our lives. After that, we had a collection, my brother and I, that we valued at about $10,000. And in college, we'd sell it back and forth to each other based on who needed cash. Hey, man, I need some cash. I'll play you the cards, right? I ended up getting stuck with the cards at the end. In fact, I'll give you another story. The cards made it through a fire at my parents' house. Jeez, they were in the attic. Part of the house burned down. The cards survived, right? But these things kept getting passed around, and I ended up cashing out the card during COVID when I opened up this chest of cards and started going through these sets and trying to sell them online because everybody was buying everything. In fact, one thing I did was I took all my sets, sent everything in, it graded something. I've got all 9s and 10s here. Everything came back 7s and lower. And that really, it was a smack in the face when I realized grading is magic performed by wizards. And you cannot understand that. And anybody wants to argue with you about how, well, you can recrack this and this guy's this and this is off center. Guys, it's magic performed by wizards. And that's it.
I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you at all, man. The grading, we're actually going to get into something that you wrote, the post you wrote about the PSA. We'll get into that in a minute, but I got to ask you, you were talking about the Mattingly, right? Back in the day that you scored. Did you got rid of that too during COVID?
It's funny. So, I again, back in the day, 1986, I pulled them Mattingly out of a pack. You're paying like $4 or $5 for this pack of 84s. And, I remember it being worth money and the guy not giving me the value of the card. So I just remember keeping it. Yes, I kept it. Yes, I got it graded. It ended up being a 5. And again, I kept that my whole life. Now, I bought a card that came out a 7, which I thought was interesting. One that I bought on eBay was graded a 7, and the one I had my whole life was a 5. I kept the 5. I don't know where the 5 is, though, right now. I think it's in storage. I remember deliberately holding that one. But that's like one of the only cards that was important to me. But I had tons of the, Barry Bonds and stuff like that. In fact, another quick story.
Yeah.
Again, 86, I'm living in Bradenton, Florida. That's where the Pirates did their spring league, whatever, training, talking about.
Yeah, spring training.
Yep.
Training. I have pictures of me as a kid that I was there, shaking hands with Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla. We met them as Pirates. I remember getting autographs of them, not on cards again, because that was no. You didn't do that. But again, that was, meeting those guys when I was a little kid. So
yeah,
I was a fan of them.
It's awesome.
Bobby Bonilla, the contract.
And then I guess fast forward, I got back in the cards because of my kids. 2015, my kids started trading cards, and I was blown away when one of them showed me Excalibur. No, is it Excalibur? Is that the card? I think it's Excalibur, Panini's product. It was a retail product that had patches and autographs in it.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind that they even had that. And then also the whole numbering of cards. Like I remember going, why are these cards numbered?
Oh,
so
man, they yanked you right back in.
It did. And then fast forward, I'll add to that too real quickly. Again, divorced father. So for me, and I will be critical as people always say, well, what about you get your kids into breaks? You're an awful human being. Well, again, my kids and I used to buy breaks. And what that meant was I would buy the Thunder and the Warriors because my boys like those two teams. And then we'd either be in the chat talking back and forth about it, or afterwards we'd talk about the cards, right? It had nothing to do with value. It just had the fact my sons like to collect them. I love to help them get them. In fact, I have one video. Again, I was very active in the breaking community back in 2016, 17. Steel City did a video. They did a personal break for my son, Leo. I'm like, can you pull a box of innovation for him? He loves Stephen Curry. And they pull him a Stephen Curry autograph patch.
That's awesome.
That we have sold since then. But at the time, it was like $100 card, $200 card, whatever it was. It was a very big card. It was his birthday. Kid was excited. So we were very active in using sports cards as a gift, as a reward system. Hey, you could watch this. Looking back at that now, I think times have changed a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad for kids to be watching breaks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on the fence on that.
Yeah.
Even the point, like my kids fast forward now are very active in wanting to gamble, right? Or have access to gambling, right? My 20-year-old son, I'm not going to lie. I know he gambles.
Right.
They're just more aware of that. So was breaking their first cigarette? I don't know.
That's a great question. That's
and I don't want to be a downer.
Part of the conversation.
Yeah, no. Well, that goes back even like to PAX itself, right? I remember as a kid, in the '90s opening PAX, and it's like you always looked at the, it's a 1 in 60 you can hit this, and so like you knew like the consequence then, right? And it wasn't as lights flashy as it is today, right? But at the same time, there was still that like itch of going, man, like I could pull that Michael Jordan out of that set, and it's going to be, look on the back of Beckett, and you're like, it's worth $200. But once again, like you said, is someone really going to give you $200 for that card? Probably not.
Here's the difference, in my opinion. And I was talking to a friend about that. We were raised with this belief in not having instant gratification for things. Right? Our families, our generation. So yes, we collect it in our minds. What we thought to ourselves, okay, this card's worth $20. I'm not going to sell it now, but I can get $20 in the future. Right? I think in our minds, we thought at a minimum, because it's worth 20 today, it's only going to go up more in the future. And I'll take the 20 it's worth today. And I think that's what created this false sense of value that when we move to the future now, in fact, what's going on today in the modern hobby is this. It's instant gratification. Cards instantly can give you money, and they can give it to you over and over and over. The velocity of a transaction is 10 times. In the 90s, you might sell a card once or twice. So when people criticize there's no collectors anymore, I don't know if there's people collecting or not, but I can tell you this, a hot rookie card will go 10 times in its life from owners and make people money 10 different times, including transactions every time it does that.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? I don't know. So when you look at the past, we would have probably, if we could have cashed out, we would have cashed out too. You know what I mean? Like we just couldn't.
Yeah.
But to your point, of course, yes. Let's say the card hot rookie goes 8 times, but then it lands with me, and I'm a whatever team fan, and I'm collecting that. That's going on my shelf, so
Yep.
it'll eventually get to that person who stops that flow, right?
Yeah.
That card will then sit on that person's shelf mantle until the person lets them down and blows the ACL, and then they realize they overspent, and now they're angry.
Even in the sense of like, if as a buyer of transactions and I get cards that I do not like, what am I going to do with them? I'm going to give them to friends of mine who do like them. Yeah. Oh, you're an Arizona fan, dude? I got a whole bunch of these Arizona cards. I didn't want them. I didn't turn out. So you're absolutely right, and that is why this will always have a collector community. And the collector, I would say, if you're patient, most collectors are patient. They smile and laugh at the breakers and the frenzies and the FOMO because they know they can wait. I think there's a lot of BS in there going, oh, the collectors, they're being priced out. And collectors, no, they're not. Buyers, gamblers are being priced out, not collectors. Collectors are still collecting. And those people who open boxes are gamblers. They're just as much of a gambler as a guy buying under breaks. They just rationalize it differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, breaking has certainly kind of changed the landscape. You talk a lot about continuing to innovate. What do you see as maybe being next with breaking? Obviously, it's very RJ pointed out. It's almost casino-like, right? Flashing lights, spinning wheels, and all those things. What do you see next?
So here's my thoughts on it. I think we look at breaking, and what we are not doing is figuring ways to solve challenges that we have in breaking. The reason we have the wheel. And that is the criticism for the spinning lights, okay? Everybody criticizes the wheel. The wheel provides velocity of breaking. And what I mean by that is we are not patient enough to wait for the random teams to fill or the PYTs to fill. So we use the wheel. I mean, and it's funny because I had to see this to believe it. I grew up breaking where you buy PYTs and randoms and you discount the PYT if you need to, or you create a RAS for it and the top guy, whatever you might do, serial number it. But the wheel came along to basically the impatient people who go, let's get this thing going. And then you get people in there fighting each other. And what I have a problem with is that you have to, there's no real ability to check for who else is in there, possibly shilling the bidding, right? It's a frenzy-like model. I've never been a fan of the short auction model. Now, it is part of life. It's part of whatnot. It's part of live selling, but it's an area that's been a concern to me. So I say that is a challenge we have. Is that wrong? I don't know. What I have as a solution to that is we have to either make more patient people, right? Or find ways to fill those breaks that will not sell. So one of the options that I would recommend is finding like a price line for breaks, right? So for example, I think Whatnot, Fanatics Live, all these platforms have all these breaks they know are sitting live. They're sitting not filling. When they hit a certain amount of break time or whatever it is, push them into one marketplace where anybody can bid on them or make offers, right? Just to get those breaks filled and get them sold. Yeah. It's an easy way to do that. And the marketplaces can continue to keep control and profit off of that, right? So price line that stuff. But at the same time, I'll be brutally honest, the platforms see the money they're making on the wheel too, right? So why are they going to do that, right? There's nothing moving them in that direction. So my argument, though, is that if the consumers push for this, right? Or if the breakers were going to start looking at this, and I've mentioned to other breakers, they all think it's a great idea, but how are we going to put that together? What type of work would it be? I think it goes back to the platforms. I'll say this, Whatnot, I think you're a unique spot because you are not a manufacturer. I think you'd be a leader to do that, right? Build that break platform. And if you could build it so you could even fill breaks off other people's platforms, even better, right? Imagine that. If Whatnot build a platform that interfaces with Loop and interfaces with Fanatics Live and then interfaces with others where you can you could push your breaks to this marketplace, right? That's just an area out there where you could, again, make money and help close those breaks faster.
Make it go quicker. Yeah. That's a much more sophisticated solution than RJ and I came up with. One of the things that we were looking at doing is, hey, if nobody wants these teams, if you do a PY, we'll buy them. We'll buy our own teams. And at the end, because the Marlins, the Rockies, baseball, they're going to hit. And you're going to hit a big prospect, but nobody wants because they want the Yankees, they want the Dodgers, right? Yep. So we said, all right, we'll buy them, and then we'll say, okay, here they are. Here are the 7 autographs from the Rockies. Now the price is X. So who wants them, right? We batted that around, but I think your solution is it's a macro solution across the hobby. And, is that doable? I mean,
I think it could be doable because with all the API integrations and things now, like we talked to Card Ladder and all these comping, systems, right? That's all they're doing, right? They're just pushing in to all these different platforms and they're pulling that data out. I don't see why it couldn't be that same, field of the ability to set a check mark to be like, hey, when we hit 3 hours of sitting here, it's going to push out to whatever, break line, right? Whatever it might be. And then you go from there.
I think there's a lot of challenges before it gets there. In fact, I think one thing that we should have would be what I call break pricing transparency, where you total up the total cost of the break, and that's transparent to all the buyers in the break. And I think this is kind of a weird spot to mention this because some people are not going to like this, right? A lot of breakers hide their cost, right? They have color breaks and magic wheel breaks, and that is confusing to the buyer. But it's kind of like when I consume a hamburger, if I know how many calories are in it, I know what I'm eating. So I go back to this model of the casino-like model. If I know what the PYTs are, and I know, for example, the total cost of the case is $3,000 and the market price of the case is $3,000, I don't feel bad at all, right? If the market price is $1,000 and the total cost of the break is $3,000, I probably am not as happy about eating that hamburger. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
And I think if they have that transparency, you're going to see, because really another thing I'll say about breaks are the tip of the spear when it comes to market pricing. If breaks aren't filling, it's because it's not priced properly. It's not just because you don't have an audience. You also either on a bad platform or whatever. But you see prices happen fastest in PYT prices. Yeah. You'll see, like, for example, you saw the A's gain a lot of value this year. A's were a crappy team for years, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden the A's are exciting. And again, collectors might go, why are the A's so exciting? Well, again, in the market, it's because these rookies are more powerful. They bring more value, and that's driving the ability those teams will fill faster. I can add more cost on that spot in a break, right? Which I go back to price transparency. If I can see the total cost, and then I can even see the breakdown. So the A's are 30% of the total cost of this break. Is that worth it to me based on the checklist? Which again, I can tie in there based on the checklist. Here are the average hits you can see, right? So let me take another step back. Price transparency, basically bringing everything together so you have a more intelligent buyer. Where I can sit there when I'm looking at a break, I know what I'm buying into, right? I know what hits are available. If I could have that, that'd be another thing great, right? And that data is out there as well. When new products are hit, share the superfractor tracker that's on Instagram data with me.
Yes, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
are you thinking... I talked about that. Yeah, I'm like, I wish there was that whole thing of like with so many cars being pulled. Like, where's that one source of like, hey, these amount of 101s hit or this out of 50 golds hit. So even product that's old, like 2018, do I really want to buy a blaster to try to find Ohtani when I already know all the autographs have been pulled or all of this has been pulled? It would really hamstring some of the resellers, right? Which would be pretty interesting.
But again, in fact, it just makes me think to myself, one thing I'll say about breaking, guys, is breaking not the innovative spear of the entire hobby? Like if it was not for breaking, would anything freaking change? And I mean that.
For breaking, Ziggy, we wouldn't be sitting here, my man. So
I'm just thinking like it makes the hobby a stronger hobby. Right? Because we have this interest for this. Like for right now, I'm thinking to myself, I think I've mentioned this as well. There's a dire need for a card AI. Right? We all use ChatGPT for some level. If ChatGPT knew half the shit that we know about card stuff, it could sit there and make those same calculations. I could wake up in the morning and say, hey, Michael, the following breaks are available at the following prices. This breaker has it at this price, which is based on this cost is the best buy, and there's this many hits. You know what I'm saying? We have all that information. It would make this hobby better. It would really, you want to grow this hobby? That's your industrializing. That's you really powering this hobby. And I ask then, is that bad or good? Because what are we powering on? We're powering on the chase of the new money, the new product, and money is flowing in these new products. They're making $1 million cards every year, whether people want to like it or not. Those debut patch cards will come out in the fall, right? But wait for the NFL and NBA. I mean, I can't even imagine the NFL, logo patches for some of the guys. The first, Mahomes logo patch, whatever it might be. So if we want to legitimize this in the industry, there's so much opportunity for innovation, and breaking is the tip of the spear bringing innovation in. It brings in the card scanning tools. It brings in the pricing tools.
I love what you're saying about AI. I'm a huge fan of what AI can do and how. I mean, I think AI. I think you were talking about it. You can build a model that can pull those hits and have it fed somewhere. So somebody's got that level of intellect. You're an IT guy, so maybe
again,
maybe you're building it.
Well, it can simply be done like just right now. If you have eBay or eBay seller, you have access to your data, sales data. You could export sales data on a regular interval down to your ChatGPT, have it analyze it, give it a product you want to check on. Say, keep track of all the Topps Chrome New York Yankees hits. It would start tracking numbered hits. It could categorize data. You could check it visually. I mean, again, I can think it all out there. Everybody can think this stuff there. AI is there. So I will say, I think that will be the big disruptor in the future. Like these market movers, these card ladder apps, I think will be obsolete because what are they giving me? You know, I'm just going to scrape that through Chat GPT is going to get all that for me from real-time selling. And it's going to give me what's also selling right now.
No.
It's exciting. I will say what I am concerned about is I've always been skeptical. Is this industry really legit? Okay. Like why has it not done this before? Why are we not bigger than we could be? Why has corporate money not come in here yet? I don't know the answer. Like,
yeah, I was about to say, do you have any answers? I mean, do you have any speculation?
My negative speculation is that the hobby's been a dark market for many people for any time, and they don't want things to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be too negative, but again, things just happen. Like, why do people always buy cards under $20 that are PSA slab and, you know, cost more than $20? I don't know. Are they washing money?
That's a good point. I mean, you know, you wonder why there's not more AI. I love what Arena Club's doing with card grading. I think it removes the human being. I'm a big fan of it. And I think it's about fairness. You know, you're spending your money. You did a lot of research on what PSA is doing on grading, which I desperately want to get into. But what are your thoughts on what Arena's Club's doing using AI?
So I'll tell
grade?
you, I was critical of them on what they're doing because I do not like them slabbing the cards.
Okay.
Right. In fact, I think they're in a perfect position because they have the marketplace. Like I look at them honestly like Star Stock. Have you guys followed Star Stock? I was a big fan of Star Stock, which Star Stock's just an expansion of ComC. But the idea you have your cards in this marketplace and they could be traded like a stock was an interesting idea, right? What Star Stock did differently, right, is it had the A, B, and C grading. I don't know if you remember Star Stock, and people believed it was an A, they were going to get a PSA 9 or 10. So they started having inflated values and it all collapsed when PSA stopped grading. So come to Arena Club and they start grading. And I remember talking, and I will say it loosely, talking to people who were there and suggesting to them, why don't you give it a virtual AI score, just like Tag is with all the information, and not slab it, but give the customer the option to, hey, you can send it now to PSA and get it graded. Or you could send it to Beckett. So we give you your pre-grader, charge you for it. You can still trade it on the platform like you want to. But I think when they add their slabbing, I was like, I don't know. Like it, and again, that's their model. I understand that model. Sure, They want their slab on it. It's a piece of marketing. But I look forward now. I don't think anybody uses them for grading, and I don't think anybody uses them for their trading. Everybody uses them for the repack. Like they're a repack company now. And it's funny too, because if you look at influencers, I remember, man, every influencer is out there grading with Arena. Man, grade with Arena, $7, I think it was, or $5, right? They were every influencer, I can list them off, was pushing Arena Club's grading. And then after that, they were pushing Arena Club's trading because they were competing with Veriswap. And neither one of those really picked up. And then they came out with Arena Club, the repacks, and now they've been on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said, though. You remove the human element. But to your point, okay, so you get a virtual grade and you send it off to PSA, who comes back with nothing at all like the virtual grade. So there would be a seriously upset customer. So who's at fault? The human being who said,
well, I don't think people would, but I would say I don't like. My point to this is if I was buying on Arena Club, which I don't, if I buy an Arena Club slab, what am I doing with it? I'm cracking it. Unless it's a PC card, I'm probably cracking it and moving it to PSA. So why not just give the customer the option? Say, hey, give it a virtual grade. Hey, it's in a virtual slab, man. Give it an NFT.
Yeah.
And if they wanted it shipped home, then maybe grade it and maybe even give them that. Maybe even say, hey, when you're shipping it home, we'll then encapsulate it with our card. But leaving it unencapsulated, I think would have given them more flexibility in the marketplace. Right, you'd be more likely. I don't know, because basically you're like ComC, you're like Star Stock. Instead of giving me an opinion of an A or comments on the grade, I'm giving you AI's impression of what the card is. And my point to this is, if you want to sell us on AI, us as being the hobby, then show me AI beating PSA. Right. So if statistically, yes, your AI grades come back, oh, it's a 9,500, and PSA keeps sending it down an 8. Well, there's the discrepancy. You're not going to, I don't know what to tell you. Then tell your AI that you're not matching the wizard's magic.
I've been trying to think too. Like I've noticed lately that on some of these cards, they've been, putting the number, right? It's like, oh, number 31 out of 99, stuff like that. And I've always wondered, I'm like, I wonder if there's some back data between these companies going, hey, if it gets cracked and ends up at you, like we had graded it at this. I always question if there's like a little bit back and forth. I know some companies are obviously owned by the same company, but in a case like that, if they're just trying to crack down a little bit on, breaking open a slab and sending something in to try to get a better grade somewhere and trying to up that value. But I don't know. Once again, it's just magic wizards. So
Magic Wizards. Do the PSA Magic Wizards start using AI? I mean, honest question.
I think they are already.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about the volumes that they're doing, million plus cards, like if you just do the math, they'd have to have a lot of people being paid $20 an hour, or they're using an AI of some sort. I also say I think they do a very good job of the fact they are a pretty quiet company. You don't hear leaky, whiny ex-employees coming out and, you know, throwing them under the bus. Yeah. There was a Beckett grader who was out saying all sorts of negative stuff about Beckett. I don't know if you heard his interviews, but I've never heard anybody come out about PSA. So I don't know. I again,
do they sign NDAs?
Absolutely. I don't think that's really the issue. I just also think like they're a well-run machine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they are well executed. In fact, to be honest, I think they're the biggest, most powerful company in the hobby, more powerful than Fanatics. Like Fanatics is still answering to the athletes, right? They are accountable to the athletes. Yeah. PSA is accountable to no one.
Well, I would say they're accountable to the customers, the people sending their hard-earned money in there. But I get what you're saying, you know, because they're not. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about their numbers, because you got to go check out what Ziggy's doing on YouTube. He has a post that kind of blew my mind. I mean, now I know you use ChatGPT. You can talk through what you did, because these aren't, you know, this isn't the gospel according to Ziggy, but it certainly was mind-blowing, the numbers you ran on what they're pulling in a month on their grading. Talk to me about this.
So again, real quickly, what I did here was I basically, no magic here, went to ChatGPT and you give them their data when they were a public company, and you could see their revenues and what they were growing at. And then you have them make some estimates on, and I gave them their numbers to what's a company called GemRate of what they've been processing over the last few years to figure out what's the average price of what do we think their average, I forget what the ASP, average sales price, was per item or something like that. Yep. And then once you figure that out, you start calculating what are they doing per month. And again, it's a very generic term, but I think what helps support that is that there's so much more to PSA. You have the PSA coin part they do. They also have, you know, they're now in the comics. They were doing Funko Pops. So there's enough there to make those numbers make sense to me. And I think what it came 57 million a month, right?
$57.2 million a month.
So around 600 million per year. And again, I was doing that to kind of look at the whole market space and look at where their competition is. Where is Beckett? Like everybody complains about Beckett, but I still think Beckett's making good money. I mean, I think they're probably profitable. I think that's why. I mean, there's been no change at Beckett. I mean, absolutely no change at all. You haven't heard layoffs at Beckett, and you haven't, you know, seen them do anything at Beckett. So.
Yeah, they had that misstep 2 years ago when they were going to change their grading. The grading criteria was announced. I was actually at the Mint Collective that weekend when it happened, and there was a small kerfuffle there. And then the next day, there was a lot of people over there, and they changed their mind. They pulled it back. It wasn't supposed to be posted. Do you recall that at all?
Yeah, I do. But it's funny. I laugh because, I mean, I don't even think it was a misstep. Like nothing happened. Like they were nothing before. They were nothing after. Like they are a zombie of a company. Do you know what I mean? Like they're walking around, mouth open, eyes there. In fact, I just watched. You watch the movie Weapons?
Any what?
This movie Weapons. It's a recent movie. It's a.
Oh no, I know what you're. I haven't seen it. No.
There's a zombie scene in there, and that's all I can think of of Beckett. There's like, I don't get them, and I've poked them and talked to them and prodded them, and I don't know. I don't understand them. I hope. In fact, that's the thing. I think a lot of us just hope they do something. They could do anything and the world would be happy. So when they did that whole pricing thing, people were critical of it, but I also felt like what we're most critical about is that you did nothing. Pardon me. You did nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like you said you're going to do something, but you didn't. Then you took it down. Like if you say you're going to do it, then go do it. Then do the 9.5 and the 10s, whatever. But you didn't even do that. Like, and you claim it was a marketing mistake. Like that's what's really weird, man. How did they do that?
Maybe they got a phone call from PSA and said, "Hey, excuse me."
And again, that is a great example, because let's go back to what I said earlier. Maybe this industry, like there's too many backdoor deals and there's no threat and anybody just does what they want to do and no one cares. And we all care more than everybody else does. But I don't know.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
So where do you see things going with the hobby? What else do you see coming along? I mean, you got some big thinking ideas. So what else do you see?
Well, I think another thing people complain about, gambling in the hobby needs regulation. I'm being outpriced. Breakers are awful. Breakers drive the price up. Let me tackle that one real quickly.
Tackle it.
Every time I hear people complain of breakers driving the price up of wax, and we remind them before there were breakers, there were things called big box distributors like Blowout and Steel City and all these other companies. And you know what they did? They just sat on the product and they raised the price as the market moved. And the market moved because one fool would go out there and buy a box for $900. So then everybody was going to buy the box for $900. That was the next belief. Okay. Breakers today move product, velocity. They do not, most of them do not have the luxury to sit on product and hold it and CT scan it. That's not what breakers are doing. Now, I'm not claiming everybody, but I'm just saying breakers move the product. If I was worried about CT scanning, I'd be worried about big box companies, right? Big distributors sitting there with cases of product, have nothing to do, right? So again, if you're going
through the CAT scan machine.
Yeah, if you're going to complain about us in the braking community and say, oh, breakers, it's not breaking. It is the market driving this up, right? And again, it was the same way before, but it was Blowout making the money in Steel City. The difference is now what it is now Fanatics has a much tighter control on the braking community. We are tighter control than they ever had in distributors, right? Just give you a quick basic example. If I was selling a box to a distributor for $10, I'm selling it to a breaker for $50 now, right? And that is a big difference. Every breaker who's been in this industry will tell you that as well. So it's a control thing. It's more money. Breakers, again, faster distribution. Yes, it's marketing for the product because we are showing the hits, which I'll also make another comment when people say, I don't know why I'd have another man ever open my cards for me. Well, here's another reason why you have another man open your cards, because he's doing it on camera. He's got a relationship with the manufacturer. If anything's missing or not there, he has the best opportunity to get you what you need in the product. And by the way, if there's a big hit in there, something special, that's your 15 seconds of fame. You opening it at home on your home phone, people don't do that. Most of them are having it ripped because they want the potential of, I want that big hit. And they want a video of them being the guy who gets it. You're taking away that experience for them because you think you should open it home. And the last thing I'll say about this too, most personals are just as cheap, if not cheaper, than if you were able to get them in your local card store. And you get everything sleeved and top loaded and handed to you too. Yeah. So there's so many positive things for why breaking.
Well, it's got the community aspect too. You can't buy, some people can't buy into like a Formula One, my thing. Can't buy into Formula One on your own. But, you want to get involved. You want to be around the hobby. You want to see some cards. Yeah, you know what? I'll pay $50 for whatever team. And then I'm going to watch the rest of them get open, and you're chatting with people, you're talking with people, you're meeting new people and having a good time doing it. So the community aspect, I think, has a big role in that too. I
think you should do a video just on what community is. I think everybody talks about that, and sometimes I giggle because I think it's more than just that, right? So for example, things that I look in a community are that you'll know a guy who's not there and they'll buy a spot for him, or a guy who he buys the raw cards because he likes the grade. So, hey, make sure Frank gets them. Right? Or, hey, I'm going to a show. I'll be there. You're just ship my cards to Frank and he's going to meet me there and give them to me. Those are a lot more community things. And again, you go back to breaking, that's where it started. You're still a lot of great breakers who are absolutely very, very heavy on that community. Even the point where I've seen breakers who aren't breaking for a profit. They're really breaking so the community has access to cards and they make their money off the cards that they get as well. Right. Yeah. So I think, again, that people talk about that, but no one understands that. And my point to that is I think the breaking community is stronger, more impactful, and reaches further than any local card store can. And I'm not trying to be mean to the local card store, but I want to say, if you're going to criticize and throw rocks at the breaking community, again, understand the positive things that they do. I'll give you, there's so many positive examples of breakers out there who just do so many things. There's a husband and wife couple on Facebook who I see them get very involved with their kids and getting their kids' schools involved. So again, I could go on forever on that, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. Same for us. We've got a guy we had on the show, a guy named Jared Bray. I found him on Twitter, was watching X, whatever the hell it is. And he repacks cards like the base that everybody gets rid of. And he takes them to the local baseball or swap meet, minor league baseball, Lake Elsinore team. And he just gives them out to kids. The kids are coming to the game. He just gives out cards. There's a lot of people doing really great things. One other guy we had on the show that he truly has a community. He's a massive breaker. He's a guy named Shake and Bake. He breaks F1 cards. Mm-hmm. He does that. The people in his breaks do that. What you talked about, buying a break for somebody or buying a card for somebody. We've had other guys, RJ, help me out there.
Well, Mary was just on as well with
Mary,
Marvel, and like that Marvel community she was talking about. She's the same thing. It's like they're buying spots, giving spots away for each other. They're same thing. It's she's like, I've met 3 or 4 of these husband and wives that come over that just or watch my breaks, and we've become friends. So it is. It's like It just that, like Matt and I talk about, it's everyone's got a different experience and different thing going on in their life, but we're all kind of coming together over this one thing, right? And in
Yep.
our case, it's smaller pictures of men, which is interesting to talk about. But yeah, no, I that's why I love the breaking community, because it gives you access to some product that I might not even ever be able to afford by myself. That instant ability to hopefully get a team if it's not a wheel, right? Get a team that I want, and just kind of sit there with other people and be amazed when a hit comes up or something that even if I didn't get it, like, all right, cool, but you're still cheering that person on. Yeah. You're like, man, that is an awesome card. Like, I wouldn't have normally seen that card. That is awesome.
Yep.
Again, I can't explain that. And again, there's so many people out there who just aren't in breaks, and they criticize it. Oh, these breakers are cutthroat. I'm like, man, you just haven't even been there. Like, how do you even say this? Like, again, you're making great examples of really good people who just want to enjoy cards. I'm thinking about Gary V cards. I have to say that every Gary V group I was ever in that broke cards was probably the happiest group I've ever seen. I don't know why. Like they would cheer for everybody. One guy gets a sketch card, yay! Where you think about it, there's sometimes in the sports you can tell some people aren't cheering, right? Like one guy gets the big hit and he didn't get the card. So I just find those communities, and like you said, how people come together is priceless. And again, the reach that Break has is unlike anything else.
Yeah, don't disagree at all. I mean, it's a blast to watch. The other thing people are doing is raising money for charities that are in their breaks. I mean, it's expanding beyond just that, what we just talked about. People are doing things for, others. Hey, my buddy's house just burned down. Let's do a break, and he lost all his cards or whatever. Let's get him some. I mean, and they're transparent about what they're doing too, which I love. I mean, they'll post Instagram pictures with. I saw a guy with an Excel spreadsheet. If you don't see your name on here and you donated, contact me. We'll make sure it's there. And then they show pictures of when that was sent off to whatever the charity was. I mean, it's really awesome to be a part of and see. So the Gary V thing is wild though, because at the national, I think I heard more cheering from wherever Gary was and when he was opening up packs than I did with some of the breakers that weren't really breaking. So, yeah.
Two quick things. Gary V, and I want to mention association. So Gary V, what he does a very good job of is really, he understands value, right? And I'll be honest, kids understand value too. Okay. So for example, when he did the stickers that he just recently dropped, everybody who I know that had allocated from him in getting that product, right, was also received one free case that had to go to the kids.
Oh, okay? Man.
Now, why don't you think about that? That's hundreds, at least 100. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know if you watch some of the videos, it seems like a lot of them are giving away free packs. That was Gary V driving that. Now, he wasn't public about that. I don't see him ever saying anything about it, but I can tell you, as somebody who received those, we were allocated and got those. We were told, hey, we have a free case to give away. And I talked to other breakers, did the same thing. That's a great example because he knows putting those in kids' hands, they're going to open them up. They're going to have an instant value. I mean, he does a phenomenal job with that. The Chrome product as well. And people are so critical of that, but he's teaching the basics. Like going back to kids, I would much rather see kids approaching things like that way than chasing prospects and rookies. I think gets a little too, it can be too complex for them sometimes unless they have a good mentor. But going to chase either the ninja or your favorite Pokemon, I kind of like that. So I love what he's done with that community. And again, I think it's special. Again, he has that value. Another thing I'll say too, he targets moms. And no one else is getting that, right? At the National and Fanatics Fest, he did a great job of engaging with kids with their moms and talking to the mom. Man, and that's something special. The other quick thing I'll say is that I mentioned you guys association. One thing I think all the breakers should think about is coming together in some type of community like association or some type of community where they could do more charity stuff or some type of community like they do. I've seen some breaker contests and I have an idea for breaker tournaments like that. But if there was an ability to put an association together, I'd love to see that. And I mentioned that to several breakers at the National. I mentioned to you guys.
Yeah, you did.
I got some mixed responses. One major breaker who laughed at me, who I would just leave that person as nameless right now, but I was kind of offended by that. Several others who were very supportive of it, who said, I think it's a great idea we should look at. And for the audience, what I'm saying is that if you look at most industries, as they evolve, they either get regulated by the government or they self-regulate. And the movie industry is a great example. The rated R, PG, PG-13 is an association rating that the association puts. It's not government, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's self-association. It's something I think the hobby should look at, right? When we look at breaking and how the breaking could make changes and really be innovative, is I think breaking coming together as association might be easier than getting local card stores or getting the major manufacturers.
How do you see that as I adjust my lighting, because I'm starting to look like I have liver disease? How does that look like for you with the association? How would that look? How would that be structured?
So let me first of all say I am open to all ideas and suggestions. I'm not going to dictate or tell anybody how it should be done.
Sure.
I would less like to see it done, right? I mean,
Okay.
I'd love to see some coming together, making things better. We do too much complaining. At a minimum, I think we could do things like having standards on what is a break. What is a breaker's responsibility? What's the back end? All the little things, and then maybe come up with a self-licensing or certification. Or if I have a dream forward, right, it'd be that you have breakers who are members of the association. The association's open to any breaker who wants to do that. But if you do that, you open yourself up for an audit, which means your processes and procedures are audited, right? Your breakers would have to attend or participate in an online breaker 101, cards on camera, why it's important to do this, what is a sweat, all these little things, right? And then there'll always be feedback. How do we improve upon this? And the reason I'd say that is it gives confidence to your consumers, right? So they feel that, hey, this breaker is associated with the Breakers Association of blank, 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 blank. And it gives more credibility. I think the manufacturer should get behind this as well and help support this and sponsor it. I don't think it should exclude anybody, right? I think all breakers should be allowed to participate or be a member, right? So I'm not going to have any barriers.
So no professional level of you need to achieve this level of whatever to get in here. Just
no, I think though. But one of the things that it can do, and I know one thing people talk about is what's the cost? How do you get that? Do you charge a fees? I don't know that answer. I think in the beginning you want to get as many people as you can, and you have it maybe community participation. It's a gratis type of service. At some point, maybe there is a fee or something. But I think, again, the goal should be is looking towards making it better for the consumers, right? So the consumer has a place to complain. I'll go back in 2015, there was a website called Breaker Culture. It was run by Ty Wilson, by the way. Ty Wilson is a guy who does cardboard, chasing cardboard.
Right.
Yep.
I used to be a big fan of breaking back in the day. And I used to write for him on that website, Breaker Culture. One thing he did a really great job of was he had reviews, and he had product reviews and breaker reviews up there. Now, he did admit that after a while it became a nightmare managing that, but some place where you could go and express, hey, I had a bad experience with this breaker, or this went wrong. Today, the community kind of does that, but kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. So having an association would be great. Also, an association could then follow up. Right. Sometimes there's these stories about, well, this breaker did this, like that breaker stole the Lamine James card. Well, actually, he didn't. Here's what actually happened. Right. Those things could be cleared up. So, and another thing I'll say too, the breaking community in general, we just have a very negative aura from some people in the hobby. Like there's a large part of the hobby who just hates breaking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't hate collectors. I don't hate anybody in this hobby, but there are people who hate breaking. So we need to work on that. I don't know how to work on that, but I think, again, if you have an association, maybe you're doing more in the fact that it's not about the breaker. It's about the guys buying into the product. Right. Like one thing I think I mentioned national, I think it's kind of crazy when the breakers are always taking cameras. Like, look what I pulled. Great. So you were present when that box was open. Again, I'm sorry. I don't want to ruin anybody's dreams. I mean, sometimes maybe I picked this case and then Mary comes in later and she picked the other one. So I picked the wrong one. Yeah. Okay. I picked the wrong one, but I didn't do anything as a breaker. I'd rather hear about the guy who won the card. You know what I mean? And I will say, I feel like back in the day, 2015, 16, 17, I remember being in there where you knew there were certain whales in the room, big guys, and you knew them only by their name, their tag or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see more concentration on that. Like we talk about the guys buying the big singles and buying these big auctions. Well, I want to hear about the guy getting the breaking turn, buying big breaks. And I mentioned, I'd like to see breaking tournaments. I'd like to see breaking be very much like poker is. Right. Yeah. Where you're going to poker tournaments. I'd like to see the strategy. Like, for example, I have a dream of like the weekend that Chrome opens up. I've already bought all my spots for the PYT, and now I'm waiting for the board to light up and see how many points I score. And that is something they could do at the National or Fanatics Fest. Think about that.
Yeah.
That would happen on that weekend.
I think Black Gold, who we just had on, he was just in a breaker.
I think it might be internal because they've got 20 on staff, so I think they've got enough to like almost do their own internal. Okay. Yeah.
There's another group that did something similar too, but I'm saying, wouldn't it be great though if the National did that?
Oh, yeah.
Fanatics Fest, right? And then you make a tournament. So there's like someone's walking, like they gave a trophy to what's his name, the Hollywood Joe dude for the most streams. I mean, let's give a trophy to the guy who put thousands of dollars into break. and hit a freaking superfractor and an RPA, I want him to have a trophy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I want the attention on the guys. And I think if you do that, then this becomes more exciting. I envision in the future, then I'm a sponsored guy getting in the breaks, right? I'm sponsored by PSA, and this week I'll be buying into the Breaker 500. So I think the opportunity for breaking is amazing. Transparency, growth, community coming together, association.
I see a league, man, like a
Yeah.
breaking league.
Yeah.
Yes. You could have East Coast, West Coast league. You have a Southern league, right? Come out of there with the most points. And again, you could do these, for example, you could do them either at events or you could do them at product releases, right? There's so many different ways you could score these things, and you could have international ones.
Ziggy, what are you waiting on, man? Launch this business. We're here with you. Launch it. Let's go, man. If you're not listening to Ziggy, listen, man, you have big ideas. I'm gonna start bringing us down here because we're gonna wrap up. And I see you coming back on the show. I love the way you think. I
would love to be here, guys. I love your show. Love your show.
Well, I appreciate that. I love disruptors. We actually just had a meeting with a company to be named later, and the guy's a big disruptor. I like disruptors. People want to change things, not for the sake of being from a negative place, but to make it better, right?
Yep.
So I think you said at the beginning when we started talking, people like the way things are. That's why there hasn't been new money, corporate money involved. But when you start injecting ideas like this to disrupt the landscape for the right reasons, it's going to be met with, I don't like this, but eventually it'll all work itself out. It'll work collectors will love breakers and breakers will love collectors. Everybody will be happy. There's a place for everyone. RJ, you were going to say something.
I'm just I'm just cycling through all this stuff. Like, I'm just thinking of what is that next thing? What is at some point will a Whatnot or someone get allocation, and then they can start giving it to breakers that are on their network to pull in people to do things like that. Right. Like what can we do to make stuff more accessible for people like that? Cause I know even with Topps Fanatics, right? Like Matt and I couldn't get, allocation right now. Right. There's no way to go through those tiers. But how come there's not a tiered system where you got your big players that get your allocation, but at the same time, maybe there's a wholesale program where I have to pay $150 annually, but I get 10% off now or 15% off. They're going to still sell wholesale, right? But then, is that going to ruffle feathers with Steel City, Dave and Adams, the larger players that have large, pockets to kind of buy this product? And it was just funny because Topps released Finest the other day. And I was lucky enough to get 2 boxes when it released for, $300 a box. Right. And I was all excited. I was like, Matt, I got 2. This is great. Let's, we'll run through this at some point this weekend. But I had to go through my past emails and I came across an invoice from a case that we bought 2 years ago of Finest. And it was $175 a box. And I'm like, Matt, it's the same thing. It's the same cardboard. The design's slightly different. The autos, it's that, Matt's but it's that the money grab of the hobby, that side
it's
of
not the same industry.
Right. Exactly. That, push up, the escalation up. And that's when I was just like, man, cause we use the company called Shells for our insert for our sleeves and stuff like that. And I bought into their wholesale program just because we get an extra 10 or 15% off. And it opens up avenues to being if I got into breaking or I wanted mass product, now it gives me an opportunity to reduce my bottom line to hopefully give you a better price on the other end. And I don't have to come in and charge 3 times what a box is, because after I pay commission and after I do all this stuff, that's going to, cut off a leg if I'm trying to get more product for us to break, or if, at some point people that just feed their family with it too. It's crazy.
Yeah. The allocation thing is a very interesting battle. And I think that's only getting more complicated. Let's be honest, Tom Brady is going to get a lot of allocation.
Yep.
Yeah, of course he is.
It's just an interesting space. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know.
Yeah, as RJ was talking about the Whatnot getting an allocation, what about, let's fuse the ideas here. You got a guy that hit, the leaderboard, somehow you say, by the way, now you get a case of whatever you want this year at whatever cost, because you're a little guy, you competed and you hit a big card. I don't know. Maybe you make it some sort of an award system as well. I don't know. Lots of ideas.
They've got a lot of creative ideas they could do. Before I forget, when your last guy you had on, I loved how he shared his security system.
Yeah.
Right. And that one thing I'd recommend to him, if he's listening, we're building another studio out. I'm building out all the security cameras, and my goal is to have those security cameras available on the web. I want them to be available possibly to the public, but to a minimum to our customers, so they can see the entire time of the card. right? From breaking to sorting to shipping, it would always be transparent cameras on the entire thing. I think that's something that breakers are probably on the brink of doing already if they're not. I know a lot of them have to deal with the sorting and the shipping. They use video. But again, I think, that's another area you can add confidence to your customer by making those videos available, right? And that's something, too, the association could help you with, right? Explaining, how do you set up this? How do you do that? What's this offer to your customers? Hey, this breaker has, online real lifetime tracking of all products. There's certain things that I think, again, innovation, differentiate the space. That's a low-hanging fruit one right there, just making it available on the web.
Man, Ziggy, too many ideas, man. My brain is mush.
And I'll
I
tell
love
you,
it.
I really just want people to do it. In my personal life, I've got a lot going on. In fact, you mentioned the prices of wax. I think to myself, I'm in sales and cybersecurity, and one thing I've seen companies do is they miss forecast. And really, the company needs to start looking at forecasting based on the rookie class, and they don't do that. Like every year, the product goes up, but guys, this rookie class sucks. We know why last year's rookie class was so expensive is because there was demand. And they foolishly throwing that out of, taking that into their consideration, I think is a concern. Like they should talk about that. Hey, we're projecting next year's rookie class to be a B, which means print runs will be in the B. We don't have to expose it, but just let you know as a collector that it's going to be a B. You know what I'm saying? There's things they could do to do a better job on that pricing. Also, then I look, it can also help on printing. Right? Do you want to do more allocations? Okay, we have a down year. We're going to increase allocations for 1 year because of this change in the market. But be transparent about that, right? Higher demand class, you're kind of like the national where you have so many tables, and if you're not in the venue with number of tables, you get cut off as a dealer, right? So you could do a similar thing based on the rookie class.
That's an interesting perspective.
Again, I think they should be more transparent to on print run. And I also think we should use AI to make them more transparent on print run, right? AI can help you calculate what print runs are. And if we know what their print runs are, that helps us get a better idea of what we're buying. And I don't know why they don't share print runs. Again, I'd go back to that's something I think should be, I don't know, regulated, but I don't eat a hamburger and not know what the hell you made it out of. I should know what's in my hamburger.
Yeah. I mean, you're spending your money. That you would think that would be kind of an important aspect, right? What am I buying?
Even in the casino world, you can't sit down at a blackjack table with an infinite number of cards in that shoe.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a better example.
So those are things like I'll say, I'd like to see that type of regulation. Like that would make things almost more fun in a way, right? Anyway.
No, hey, we got a billion ideas. We're going to have you back for sure. But if you're out there, as you're out there listening, if you want to get smarter in a hobby, check out what Ziggy's doing on YouTube. All of his other links will be in the show notes, but check him out. Appreciate you being on, and I appreciate the opinions and the disruptive nature of what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people to think. It comes from a good place, and I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really enjoyed this. I do hope to be back on, and if I'm not, it's okay, and I will definitely be commenting for a long time. And I strongly, strongly recommend every breaker check out and subscribe to what you guys are doing and help out in any way.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot, guy.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Breaks. We appreciate you being here with us and helping us grow this community. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Make sure to like, follow, or subscribe.